Hey, my name is Daniel Mejia. Welcome to Orchard Online.
No one told you life was gonna be this way. Your job's a joke, you broke, your love life's the old way. It's like you're always stuck in second gear. When it hasn't been your day, week, your month, or even your year. But I'll be there for you when the rain starts to pour. I'll be there for you like I've been there before. I'll be there for you, so there for me too.
Welcome again to Orchard Online. My name is Russ. Orchard Online is the online experience of the Orchard Church. We're a family of churches that exist to grow deep in the love of Jesus and branch out to others with that love. I'm with my friend Daniel Mejia today. Daniel you're originally from Ecuador.
Yep.
You've been in the States for how long now?
8 years.
8
Almost
years.
9.
There you go.
Yep.
Daniel's one of our pastors, and he works with me a lot at our Soma campus, which is a bilingual multicultural church. I know you've kind of chosen to live your life here, right? You got your wife and you raising a kid here and all that kind of stuff. Did you have the American dream growing up?
Not really.
Yeah.
I didn't have the American dream, and I like it. The state I came before, just to do some tourist things, but I was happy in Ecuador. I have a decent life, a good life, but God changed the things and moved me here.
How long were you supposed to be here when you first moved here?
2 months.
2 months.
Yep.
And that was almost 9 years ago.
That was 9 years ago.
Yeah.
People don't let me go.
Yeah. You have to stay here forever.
Yep.
I know you love the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody here in the Deep South, you're like turning them over to the light side of soccer. What's the one thing you miss most about your country? I know you have family and friends there that you miss, but other than that, what's the thing you miss the most?
I think, I don't know, I love food, and I miss like fresh juice. Mm-hmm. Everything is organic. Everything is I don't know, tastes different.
Yeah.
The food tastes different. You can find things here, but it's not the same tasting. Yeah.
We have a lot of fried food, but nothing is fresh. It's all processed and come out of cans, and we add sugar to it, and that's interesting. No matter where you may be joining us from, we're so excited. We're going to talk with Daniel and his dad later on, but we're just glad you're here. So again, thanks for joining us. We hope you have a great day.
So no one told you life was gonna be this way. Your job's a joke, you broke, your love life's the old way. It's like you're always stuck in second gear. But when it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your year. But I'll be there for you when the rain starts to pour. I'll be there for you like I've been there before. I'll be there for you, 'cause you're there for me too. You're still in bed at 10 when work began at 8. You've earned your breakfast so far, things are going great. Your mother warned you there'd be days like these, but she didn't tell you when the world has brought you down to your knees that I'll be there for you when the rain starts to pour. I'll be there for you like I've been there before. I'll be there for you, 'cause you're there for me too.
Today we're talking about this question of Jesus. What good does it do a man to profit the whole world but lose his soul? And when I think about that, I think about a pastor that I've known for a few years now. His name is Alejandro Mejia. His son, Daniel Mejia, works with us at our Soma location at the Orchard family, and he's going to sit down with his dad and talk about that very thing. And it's a great story, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hi, my name is Daniel Mejia. I am a pastor at Soma Church. And today we are going to talk with Alejandro Mejia. He is my dad and he's a pastor in Ecuador, and he runs the Foundation Elohim. And today he is with us.
Antes de ser pastor, antes de llegar a los pies de Cristo, trabajé en la vida petrolera.
Before I was a pastor and before I knew Jesus, I worked for a petroleum company.
En diferentes empresas como Petroamazonas y Texaco Petroleum Company.
In different companies like Petroecuador and Texaco Company.
Por 22 años.
For 22 years. ¿Qué es lo que te hizo cambiar de trabajar por una compañía de petróleos a hacerte pastor?
Bueno, primero no solo fue la vida petrolera, también era un hombre de negocios.
No was just only alive with the oil companies. I was a businessman too.
Era un hombre muy próspero.
I was a prosperous man.
Pero muy triste.
But I was really sad.
Siempre estaba lejos de mi familia.
I was always far from my family.
Y desde muy corta edad yo entré al mundo de las drogas.
And when I was younger, I started to use drugs.
Yo ansiaba salir de este mundo.
I decided to get out for that world.
Busqué medicina.
I tried with medicine.
Varias alternativas.
I tried different alternatives.
Pero un cierto día yo le pedí a Dios que me sacara de ese vicio.
But one day I asked God to take me out for that life.
Y Él me pidió, sentí que Dios me pedía que yo dejara lo que más me gusta.
And I feel that God asked me to give to Him what I like the most.
Y hasta ese tiempo lo que más me gustaba era el dinero.
And the thing that I liked the most at that time, that point of my life, was the money.
El dinero te da posesión.
The money gives you a possession.
Te da una aparente alegría.
They give you a kind of happiness.
Y ese era el esfuerzo que yo estaba haciendo.
And that was what I put all my effort.
Yo le pedí a Dios que me dé una señal para yo dejar los vicios.
I asked God to give me a sign that I need to, that help me to give up to that life.
Pero dando a entender que yo no conocía de Cristo.
But the reality is I didn't know about Christ.
Yo no era cristiano.
I was not a Christian.
Había ido una sola vez a una iglesia evangélica.
I just went one time to an evangelical church.
Y él me dijo que deje de trabajar.
And what God asked me is that you need to stop working.
22 años, Señor, dejar. ¿Para qué?
Left 22 years of work for what?
Para predicar el evangelio.
To preach the gospel.
Pero si yo no sé de la palabra,
And he asked, I don't know about the word of God.
¿qué voy a hacer?
What am I going to do?
Cogí el teléfono, yo estaba en el oriente
I took the phone and I was on the jungle.
y le llamé a mi esposa, le dije, voy a renunciar al empleo para yo predicar el evangelio.
And I told my wife, I am going to resign my job and I am going to start to preach the gospel.
En mi mente, como hombre, esperé que mi esposa diga, no, ¿cómo vas a dejar el trabajo? ¿Y ahora de qué vamos a vivir?
In my mind, as a man, I thought my wife was going to be crazy and say, what are you doing? How we are going to live?
Pero mi esposa me dijo, hazlo.
But my wife said, do it.
Y renuncié al trabajo.
And I resigned my job.
Luego no cumplí la promesa.
Then I didn't keep the promise with God.
Mi hijo menor, Santiago, comenzó a tener una fuerte enfermedad.
My younger son, Santiago, he started to have healthy problems.
Y él comenzó a tener muchos ataques epilépticos, tipo epiléptico.
And he started to have epileptic seizures.
Y un cierto día, en la mañana, él murió físicamente.
And one day in the morning, he died, clinical died.
17 minutos clínicamente.
For 17 minutes, he died
Yo
clinical.
recordé lo que le había prometido a Dios.
And in that moment, I remember what I told to God.
Pero ese día hice una nueva promesa.
But that day, I made a new promise to God.
Y le dije, Señor,
And I said, God, Lord,
me lo devuelves,
If you give me back,
yo te voy a servir.
I will start to serve to you.
En ese momento mi hijo
And in that moment, my son,
regresó a verme
he looked me back
y dijo, papá,
and he said, Daddy.
desde ese día comencé a aprender la palabra de Dios,
And for that moment, I started to learn the Word of God.
congregarme en la iglesia,
Fellow at church.
estudiar el seminario
I went to seminary.
y prepararme para servir de la mejor manera al Señor.
And I get ready to serve in the best way to the Lord.
El ministerio que Dios me dio fue un ministerio muy grande.
The ministry that God gave to me was a big ministry.
Primero, trabajar con niños y jóvenes.
First, work with kids and teenagers
De un ministerio que se llama Castillo de Rey.
in a ministry that calls King of the Castle.
Luego, en un ministerio que era entregar la palabra de Dios en todas las escuelas, colegios e instituciones de nuestro país.
And then I work in a ministry that helping all the schools and colleges in Ecuador giving free books.
Predicamos a más de 7 millones de ecuatorianos la palabra de Dios.
We preach more than 7 million of Ecuadorians the Word of God.
Estábamos juntos con mi hijo,
We was with my son,
con Santiago, mi otro hijo,
with Santiago, my another son,
y con mi esposa,
and my wife,
y un equipo de jóvenes,
and a team of younger people.
llegando a muchas personas.
And we reach a lot of people.
Ahora, ¿de qué ha servido ser cristiano?
And what that helped me to be a Christian.
Al principio mi vida fue muy difícil económicamente.
From the when I did this, in the beginning, my life was hard in the financial way.
Después de tener tanta economía en mis negocios y siendo un hombre que trabajaba en una empresa petrolera,
Before I have a lot of money and a lot of business with my oil company and everything,
mi economía se transformó a no tener un centavo de ingreso.
my life financial changed to don't have anything.
Los pastores en nuestra iglesia, en nuestro país, no tienen un salario.
In our country, the pastors don't have a salary.
Y en ese tiempo era muy difícil.
And in that time was really hard.
Los hombres caminábamos por fe.
Us, the men, we walk for faith
Hace 30 años.
30 years ago.
Pero hay una promesa en la Biblia que dice, en lo poco fuiste fiel, en lo mucho te pondré.
But there is a promise in the Bible that said, in the little while you was faithful, in the bigger things I would put you.
Nos mantuvimos creyendo en el Señor.
We stay trusting God.
Hoy tenemos un ministerio ya propio,
Right now we have our own ministry.
es la Fundación Ecuatoriana Elohim,
It's the Ecuadorian Foundation Elohim,
que ayudamos a muchos inconversos, gente que nunca tenía esperanza de conocer a Jesús.
that we help and support a lot of people that don't know about Jesus.
Estamos dando la oportunidad a nuevas generaciones
We are giving the opportunity to new generations
de cambiar su vida, su forma de vida, confiando y teniendo la seguridad en Cristo.
that they can change their life, trusting and have the faith in God, in Christ.
Además de ello tenemos la iglesia
And we have the church too.
y soy feliz.
And now I am happy.
Tengo 65 años.
I have 65 years old.
Conozco 30 años a Jesús.
I know for 30 years Jesus.
Tal vez no tengo el dinero que tenía antes,
Maybe I don't have the money that I had before,
pero soy feliz.
but I am happy.
Then Jesus began to tell them that the Son of Man must suffer many terrible things and be rejected by the elders, the leading priests, and the teachers of religious law. He would be killed, but 3 days later he would rise from the dead. As he talked about this openly with his disciples, Peter took him aside and questioned why he would say such things. Jesus turned around and looked at his disciples, then reprimanded Peter. "Get away from me, Satan," he said. "You are seeing things merely from a human point of view, not from God's." Then, calling the crowd to join his disciples, he said, "If any of you wants to be my follower, you must give up your own way, take up your cross, and follow me. If you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it, but if you give up your life for my sake and for the sake of the good news, you will save it. And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your own soul? Is anything worth more than your soul? If anyone is ashamed of me and my message in these adulterous and sinful days, the Son of Man will be ashamed of that person when he returns in the glory of his Father with the holy angels.
What is our most treasured possession? In our lives, what do we hold closer than anything? Jesus, by a simple question, pushes us to think past our materials, past our family heirlooms, and he gets to the heart of answering that question. What is our most treasured possession? But before we get to all that, there seems to be a disconnect. Peter and Jesus don't seem to be on the same page. Why is Peter reprimanding Jesus? What has Jesus said to make Peter want to pull him aside and to correct him? Jesus, for the first time, is establishing his kingdom. He's telling the disciples how he's going to go about that, how he's going to reconcile God with humanity. And he uses words like suffer and killed and resurrection. And Peter hears this, but Peter just does not understand. Peter was expecting the Jesus that he wanted, but he never expected the Jesus that he needed. How often do we attempt to shape Jesus into what we want him to be instead of allowing Jesus to shape us? Peter didn't want a Jesus who suffered. He wanted a Jesus who ruled. But Jesus is establishing a different kind of kingdom. It's 30 AD, and you are a condemned criminal, and you are sentenced to a humiliating death by crucifixion, a humiliating death on the cross. So what they do first is they strip you nude, and they take your hands and they drive nails through each one of them, and they attach a 100-pound crossbeam to your body. And the only thing that's holding it up is the weight and the skin in between your hands. And they take that crossbeam in your body and they attach it to a post, and then they raise you and they lift you and they put you in a pre-dug hole. And there you hang. They don't put you in the back courtyard. They put you right at the city gate. Anybody who's going to leave and enter, they see you. You're no longer a human. You are a display piece. You are a symbol. That's what happens to you when you disobey. When Jesus utters the words, "Take up your own cross," that is what clouds the minds of the disciples. There is no romanticizing or separating the shame and the cruelty that is wrapped in the death on a cross. And when the disciples understand and hear the qualifications that it takes to be a follower of Jesus, they understand immediately that equates to death. It's becoming more clear to them because Jesus says, "Now take up your cross and follow me." It becomes clear that the path that Jesus is on is also the path that they're on. It's the path that they're called to, that they are to lay down their most treasured possession daily for Jesus. Is it worth laying down our most treasured possession to follow Jesus? Jesus says a lot of phrases that seem contradictory, but let me simplify. On one side, Jesus says, if you attempt to hang on to your life, then you'll lose it. And on the other side, he says, if you attempt to give up your life for the sake of me and for the sake of what I have come to do, then you will save it. I don't know if any of y'all are like me, but I tend to have my response locked and loaded in the middle of an argument before the other person's even done speaking. I do this a lot with my wife. When she starts speaking, she brings up one point, and my mind is already going on how I can dismantle the first point that she made. But what happens during that process? I've missed about 500 words that she said. It's possible that Peter did not fully hear Jesus when he was foreshadowing his death. He's listening intently when Jesus starts talking to the disciples. He hears Jesus say words like, I'm going to suffer terrible things. I'm going to be killed. And that's when Peter was done. He starts thinking to himself, it's like, this is not how a king works. This is not how you establish your kingdom. What I'm going to do when Jesus gets done talking, I'm going to pull him aside and I'm going to correct him, and then he can go and talk about how a true king works. But what did he miss? He missed the end. He missed the victory. Jesus talks about being killed, but then he says that he is going to be raised 3 days after. Yes, Jesus is asking the disciples and us to take part in his death, but also he's giving us the honor and the privilege to take part in his resurrection, to take part in eternity with him. Who do we live for? Do we live for what is ours, for our own way? What is our most treasured possession? Now, Peter has reprimanded Jesus. Jesus has reprimanded Peter. He sees that there's doubt in the disciples' eyes, so he brings them close, and then he brings the crowds close, and he's talking about hanging on to your life, you'll lose it, but if you follow me, you'll save it. He said all these things, but now he's gotten to the big question. If Jesus were writing an essay, this would be his main thesis point, his main thesis statement right here. And he asked this question. He says, what do you gain if you gain the world? What do you benefit if you gain the world, but you lose your own soul? Now, when he uses the word life and soul, he's using those synonymously, and they mean the same thing. They mean your personhood, your personality, your unique identity at the being of your core. So if we were to reread this question and use the word identity, this is how it would be. What do you gain? What do you benefit if you gain everything you ever wanted, but you lost your unique identity that was given to you by God? Would you be willing to trade your own identity for the identity that God has given you? Would you be willing to do that? Jesus makes it very clear that to lose one thing means to gain the other, and if you gain one thing, you lose the other. For us to hold tightly to our own identity, we would lose who we were created to be. We would push away God's declaration over our lives. You are a beloved son or daughter, in exchange for going our own way. We will sell, bargain, barter any piece of God's declaration in exchange for an ounce of importance, an inkling of status, and a moment of intimacy. And when the fame moves on, when the accolades fade, when the compliments go away, when the love fails, what's left? Brokenness, shame, loneliness, depression, emptiness. What do we gain from the world? Nothing. In our attempt to gain nothing, we lose everything. It's like when you gather up sand in your hand and you're so excited that you've got so much, and then you run to show your friend and you open your hand and you're surprised there's nothing there because it was never substantial. It was never going to last. It faded away. And when we focus so much time and energy on our present, we've died to our eternity. What is our most treasured possession? Ourselves. We hold closer than anything our own lives. It's who we surround ourselves by, how we're perceived, how good we look, how we feel about ourselves. That's what we want to be our identity. That's what we'll lose our soul for. And when we hear Jesus' question, what do you benefit when you lose your soul? That's why it's so challenging for us. That's why it's so hard for the disciples to hear and for us to hear and for us to wrestle with. because Jesus is pushing us back because he knows what our most treasured possession is, but he's asking, can I be your most treasured possession? Will you push yourself aside for me? Will you allow me to shape you? In the first pages of the Bible, in the beginning of time, God, he creates the heavens. He creates earth. He creates the waters and the plants and the animals, and then he creates us. And after all this work had been done, what he does is he looks at everything, and then he looks at us. He looks at us in our eyes. And these are the words that he utters. He says, very good. What I've made is very good. Complete, I'm satisfied. And we hear the world. And when we look at ourselves, we ask questions like, where can I improve? Where am I lacking? What is my identity in what I see? But God is sitting there saying, no, very good. You lack nothing. You don't need improvement. I have defined you. But yet we don't care about God's definition because the world doesn't deem that important. That's what we care about. That's what we bring in. We trade belovedness for emptiness. We're willing to lay down who we're created to be so we can be who we want to be. And what do we lose? What we lose is what you were created to do. Only you, only me was created uniquely to glorify God in the only way that you can. That's what we lose. Not only that you lose, but the world loses. What is our most treasured possession? Are you willing to lay down who you want to be in exchange for who God created you to be, for God's declaration over your life?
Dios te guarde y bendiga, que extienda su amor y te muestre favor. Dios te mire con agrado y te dé paz. Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, and be gracious to you. Lord, turn his face toward you and give you peace. Amen. 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 Que te cubra con su gracia hasta 1000 generaciones, tu familia y tus hijos y los hijos de tus hijos. Su presencia te acompañe donde quiera que te vayas, que te llene, te rodee, va contigo de mañana y de noche, en tu entrada y salida, en tu llanto y alegría. Él te ama, Él te
Thank you for joining us today, and I hope you had a great time with us today.
Yeah, we want this to be more than just a viewing experience. We want this to be a community. So if you'd like to join us, we're praying as we lead up to Easter. You can sign up at the link in the description to receive a prayer guide. You get an email every Monday until Easter that kind of leads you on a prayer journey over the course of the week, every week until Easter. If there's any questions or comments, any way we can pray for you, you can email me at russ@theorchard.net. Or if you'd like to visit one of our in-person locations around North Mississippi, you can do that by checking out theorchard.net, and we'll point you in the right direction. We hope you have a great time. Have a great day.